It's Ding.
I hated this movie. I hated this movie. I hated this movie.
It really doesn't
I
get much better than
hated this movie. I
Sonic the Hedgehog
hated
is
this
almost-
movie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Viewer Digression podcast, the show where we decide once and for all if the critics got it right. And this week we're talking about Batman v Superman, baby. Couldn't be any more excited. So we do this each and every week. I am one of your hosts, Jake Steinberg, and I am joined by the wise, the artful. As always, I am joined by Wil Turner.
Yo, what's happening, everybody? Good to be back. It feels like a lifetime since we last spoke to you guys. Glad to have you here listening to us. Wow, what a day. This is going to be a monumental day for the podcast, for the universe, for life itself.
God. I'm so excited. I can't believe it's finally here. We're talking about Batman v Superman. Well, before we get into the topic of the show, this is going to be a big one. Do you know my favorite way to start a podcast?
Nah, bro, I'm afraid I don't.
Oh, okay, so
You gotta let me know.
this is the jolly update. This is the part of the show where we share something from the past week that we've just enjoyed, jolly vibes. I think we're going to try to keep it short because we've got a big episode ahead of us.
100%. My jolly update for this week is a book called Red Rising. It is my favorite book of all time.
Whoa.
It's by Pierce Brown. It's a science fiction novel. It's a trilogy, actually, but this is the first novel in the trilogy. It's about a person named Darrow. He's grown up on Mars. For 7 generations, his entire family has been working on Mars, trying to terraform the planet because, climate change has destroyed Earth. And he's like, all right, everyone is like counting on us to terraform the planet. We're slaves, but if we work on this well enough, we'll save humanity. And then it turns out that humanity has been saved like 100 years ago, and that they have kept him and his entire family and everyone he's known for his entire life a slave far longer than they would have ever needed to be, and they just didn't tell them. And now he has to overthrow the government. It's amazing. Someone described it as Game of Thrones meets Hunger Games, but in space. And that sounds crazy, but it's perfect. It's if I could ever recommend one book to you to read, that would be the book. And yeah.
Well, you sold me. While you were talking, I got on Google Play Books and bought it.
Nice.
So I'm in, baby. I'm in.
Yes.
Honestly, you were when the second you hit but turns out it already happened. I was like, yep, nope, that's fantastic. Exactly as it should be.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good. Well, my jolly update this week is going to surprise you. It's a little movie called Ready Player One.
Whoa, Steven Spielberg!
Okay,
My
okay,
gosh, first time he's mentioned on this podcast.
Okay, now I
Imagine
want
that.
everybody just hold on to your caps, because I could see you out there. I could see you out there going, oh, so Jake cues us up for talking about Batman v Superman by bringing up other objectively bad movie, Ready Player One. Okay, all right, I get it. But here's what I want to say about Ready Player One is that sometimes I want to enjoy something that isn't good. And here's what I want to say about Ready Player One. It is a movie that is about finding eggs. It has no message. It has no subtext. There is no deeper meaning. It is a movie about finding eggs. And I gotta tell you, at the very beginning, the narrator is like, there are these Easter eggs. They're hidden in the world. And I go, okay. And I'm just waiting for him to find the eggs. And the worst part of that movie is the third act because it's after they've already found all the eggs.
Oh, that's funny.
So I had a fine time just watching eggs be found. Well, one of the craziest scenes in this movie. Do you remember? I'm sure you saw it. Do you remember?
I actually have never seen this movie because I got the book for Christmas one year, and my sister Brianna immediately asked to borrow it from me, and I gave it to her. She proceeded to fail to read it and also to fail to give it back. So I was like, well, so I've never seen it.
Here's my argument for it. I think it's a bad book turned into an equally bad, maybe less bad movie. But there is something in the book that I think is really stupid, where the book is like, Okay, I'm going to take 3 pages to describe to you the car from Back to the Future, and you're going to be like, oh my God, it's so cool. The car from Back to the Future is in this book. And in the movie, his car shows up, and you look at it for 1 second, and you go, oh, cool, the car from Back to the Future. And it accomplishes what those 3 pages in the book accomplished. And I think it's better that way, because that's how you know it. You know it as something you see. And that's basically the whole movie. But there is a scene in this movie very early on where it's like they're doing a race, like a Mario Kart-esque race. And there is no soundtrack. There is no music. There is no dialogue. It is literally just the sound effects of the cars and the race and everything happening. I am not kidding you, for like 6 straight minutes.
Wow.
Insanity. A psycho.
You know what that reminds me of?
Yeah.
Reminds me of Spy Kids 3, when they just were like on the bikes and they were just racing.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so my other takeaway from watching this movie again is that it is obviously a kid's movie. And I think sometimes we look at non-children's media and we are like, oh, this is bad. I'm like, no, it's just for kids. You know how like Nickelodeon TV shows and Disney Channel shows would lean really heavily on like set and props? And like, remember Drake and Josh's like bedroom? How nobody's bedroom looked like that? Or remember like the apartment that iCarly lived in?
Oh yeah.
It was,
wow. I actually haven't thought about the iCarly apartment in so long, but that is both of those examples glorious.
Yeah, it's like this weird it's like not real, you know? It's
right.
Yeah, and Ready Player One kind of has that vibe where it's like there's just kind of like these colorful and weird things around. And I think it's just it's nothing more than to be kind of cool to look at. Like that's it. It's not trying to tell any story greater than that. It's like, hey, look at this cool thing. Cool.
I mean, I respect that. I can respect that for sure. I mean, there are some movies that you just need to have a fun time. There are some movies that are bad at being bad, like Baywatch, which I watched with my dad last night. That movie is just horrendous.
Oh, the new one was Zac Efron?
Zac Efron and The Rock. Terrible. My God. I couldn't even laugh at it. I was like, geez, that's rough. It was on FX or something last night. But other movies, it's like, you know what? Let's just lean into some tropes. You know,
tropes, dude. Tropes. Big tropes.
Oh, gosh, I love tropes. One day I'm going to talk to you about movietropes.com, which is my favorite website of all time.
I've been.
Dude, the hours I've lost on that website.
It's a good idea. That's a good website.
Yeah. Well, man. But anyway, another time. Now I think it's time to get into this. Wow. We're gonna talk about Batman versus Superman. Dawn of Justice, Dawn of Justice.
That's right.
We're not going to say that every time.
No.
So here's what I'm envisioning, right?
Okay.
I want you to. So look, you're gonna have to talk me up to this movie. I rewatched it. Here's the thing. It's better on rewatch than it is the first time.
Okay, that's good.
Things are like there's a lot of things in this movie that are jarring the first time, but I want to give you the floor because one day we're going to talk about a particular Star Wars movie that I have a lot of strong opinions on, and I want the floor. But right now, this is your time to shine. So I want you to talk to us about this.
All right,
movie.
friends.
Why should we love it?
Okay, friends, fans, Will, listeners of the Viewer Digression podcast, I beseech you. I know you hate this movie. I know that you're all a bunch of big babies that need to put on your adult pants and learn how to read. And that's why I am here. I am here to teach you how to read because you are all missing what an amazing movie this is. I want everyone to know that old Will over here, he queued me up. I was like, man, I really like Man of Steel. There is no way I'm gonna like Man of Steel as much as Batman v Superman. Will and we had very similar thoughts about Man of Steel. I was like, okay, this is when I have my reckoning. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna hate this movie. I sat down and like a psychopath, just drooling at the mouth, every scene going, I love this movie hit credits and I said, that is one of my favorite films of all time. Films, not movies. One of my favorite films of
This is a piece of cinema. This is a piece of cinema. Shout out to Marty Scorsese.
Somebody needs to show Martin Scorsese this movie because I don't think he's seen it. I think it might turn him around on superhero movies. So let me okay. So let's focus in here on what I think is going on. Because I have a theory about what's going on with this movie. And I literally think it is like there are a few core issues with this movie that make it hard for the audience to read. So I had a really enlightening conversation with composer of the show, Abram Blau.
Abram.
Yeah.
Love them.
About the movie that we hated. I'm thinking of ending things.
Oh yeah, you can't fake a thought.
Yeah, you can't fake a thought. And Abram was like, no, the movie wants you to laugh at it. And I was like, whoa. No movie that postures as hoity-toity has ever wanted me to laugh at it. So I was not taught to watch movies that way, so I didn't. And Abram was like, "Oh, that's a really good point." And I think an issue that this movie has is that like there are some big ideas that if you miss them, you completely misunderstand this movie. So I just want to put a few things on the table, and then I want you to respond to these things.
Well, super quick, right before you say that,
please.
You said that this movies teach you how to watch them.
Yeah,
I would agree with that, and I think that I'm gonna have some things to say about that going forward. That's all I wanted to say.
So
talk to me about this.
Okay, so I have long been a defender of this movie, and I have isolated what I think are the critical. False positives, if you will, that people say are the issues with this movie. Issue number 1: this movie doesn't understand who Batman is as a character. Okay, I need every big baby to go back and rewatch this movie, because this movie over and over again beats into your little brains that this Batman is doing the wrong thing. Alfred literally talks to him several times being like, dude, you've changed. This is too much violence. What is wrong with you? And meanwhile, I'm reading all these op-eds with people going, why is Batman killing people? I'm like, because the movie wants you to be uncomfortable with what Batman is doing. The movie wants you to go, oh, this is not the Batman I know. And now, and then we've got people watching the movie going, this is not the Batman I know. I hate it. And I'm like, whoa.
Which is the problem that people had with Man of Steel. This is not the Superman that I know. I hate it.
Yes. And something I love about this movie is that I think if you look at the arc, I love going from Man of Steel to this movie, because I think you see a Superman who goes, okay. I need to decide who I'm going to be. We go from the Man of Steel to I'm going to be Superman. And you've got people looking at him going, he's a god, he's a savior. I love the scene that is the montage.
When he saves the girl? No. Well, I was going to say when he saves the girl on the Day of the Dead and whatnot.
Yes. Okay. So it's similar. It's I think it happens at the same time. It's when all the people on the news are talking about Superman.
Yeah. What I'm talking about is the beginning of that scene, and then it leads immediately into like the guy being like, oh, he's a savior, Messiah figure. That is the second best scene in the film. I
love that scene. And I think it's because it's like, he's just trying to be Superman, and everybody's trying to tell him what it is he can or can't be. And it's like, I think the moment where he really becomes Superman is when he dies. That's when everybody kind of accepts him as Superman. And I think that like, weirdly, this movie has kind of a similar trajectory for Batman, where Batman starts out the movie, not starts out because we've got our scene from Man of Steel, but after that, when we skip to our 18 months, we've got a Batman who can't be Batman. We've got a Batman who has lost his sense of, for Superman, it's kind of like hope because people don't trust him. For Batman, it's justice. He has lost his sense of justice, so he can no longer be Batman. And like by the end of the movie, he is the kind of Batman that we want him to be, because he's like, oh man, I failed. I messed up. I did the wrong thing. These people were right. And the crazy thing is, the movie says, and then I'm going to stop. This is the last thing I'm going to say. The movie says, and then I want to hear what you have to say. But the movie says, from the beginning of it to the end of it, it's one of the first lines of the movie. It's one of the last lines of the movie. No one stays good in this world. And that is what the movie is about. That the movie is about, can Superman stay a good man from life to death? And he does. So he proves himself. And it makes Batman go, oh shit, I can, if Superman can do it with all of that power, I can do it too. And yes, so like, can a man stay good?
I like your thesis. I like your thesis.
Yeah.
You're making sense. You're making sense. You're making
Well,
sense.
it like freaks me out how much it's in the movie, because even me that has like studied this thing, watching it through again, I was like, oh my God, it's there. In every scene, they have somebody talking about this. Lex talks about it. Alfred talks about it. Superman's like, mom talks about it. Lois talks about it. Like, it's the weirdest thing. I'm like, oh my God, this is like really thoughtfully in the movie.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I would agree. I would
Mhm.
agree 100%. I think you're onto something with that. Here's the thing,
Mhm.
right? I'm watching this movie and I'm remembering the first time I ever went to go see it, which was my birthday weekend in 2016. I went to go see this movie on April the 2nd, 2016, Saturday. And I'm sitting there. I was in college at the time, and I'm watching. Before I went to go see it, my roommates were like, "Yo, you're gonna go watch it," because they had already seen it. They had seen it like 2 days before. They were like, "You're gonna go see this movie, and there's gonna be a lot that you like about it, and there's gonna be moments where you're like, what the hell are they talking about?
Yes.
What is going on?"
Yes.
They literally told me at one point, they were like, "You're gonna see the Flash in this movie,
Yes.
and you're not gonna know what in the world is going on." And I was like, "Well, you just told me about it, so it's not gonna be a problem." And then the Flash travels back through time and has a conversation with Batman. And the first time I saw it, I was like, what the hell is going on? So there's just things like that. And I mentioned, like, a movie teaches you how to watch it. You know, especially when it's a sequel. Like, this isn't a standalone film. And it's weird to me that we have a film for Superman.
Yeah.
We have all of this baggage for Superman, which works really well. But we have to spend the first hour of this, like, because we watched the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah.
It's like a 3-hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to spend the first hour of this film re-establishing Batman. And the film can never really make up its mind whether this Batman is a spiritual successor to the Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale Batman, or if he stands alone. Even the whole thing of, like, no one gets out of this world a good person.
Yeah.
That's a reference to you either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a spiritual reference to that. If we had gotten a movie prior to this, if we got on Man of Steel, keep Man of Steel basically the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then give me a Batman film in which you don't need, like, give me the first, take them, this movie, Batman vs. Superman, begins with the funeral for the Wayne parents.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all a dream, essentially. You find out eventually. But the funeral for the Wayne parents, and then he's attacked by the bats, Bruce Wayne. Take that scene out of this movie, put it into a Batman film, start it off that way, and then lead me into a Batman movie. That way I know who he is. I know he's kind of a piece of shit. Take me through the film where he's, like, not very heroic, and he's kind of the opposite of the Superman. That way you can spend the most of this movie, Batman versus Superman. You already know both of these guys, and you already can see why they are opposed. I have a lot more thoughts on how you could do this perspective Batman movie that I think should come in between Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. But I'm not going to get into it too much at this particular moment. I'm going to save it for a little bit later.
Yeah, let me talk about something you just said. Okay, so I think the reason that I like that we just the way that Batman is introduced in this movie and the function he serves, I think the reason I like it in this movie is because this movie has a tall order to its audience. I think the title, Batman v Superman, this movie promises you that Batman and Superman are going to fight. Exactly. And I think the fear with that promise is you don't want it to be Avengers Civil War. You don't want it to be a fake fight. And
true.
I think you also don't want to sit there the whole time going, "Oh, I wish they just did this so then they wouldn't have to fight." So this movie, the whole argument it's making from the beginning to the end is we are going to feed in to Batman's fear, distrust, and paranoia of Superman, and we're gonna build this argument in your head the whole time. And the reason why I like the genesis of like Bruce Wayne's origins in this movie are because I think if you go back and watch, the attention to the little details to change that origin for this movie are really interesting. I love that, like, we're setting up a more violent Batman, and Thomas Wayne goes for a punch.
He goes for a punch, which is the exact opposite of everything that comes in Batman Begins. In Batman Begins, the Wayne parents die because Thomas Wayne is too afraid to fight back.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually do like that he goes for a punch. I love that. But I want that in the Batman movie.
Dude, and okay, now hold on to this. Hold on to your hat. So, this movie, I don't know if you caught it. This is one of my favorite things about the movie. I love the vertical awareness of this movie. People are constantly talking about where good guys and where bad guys come from. And Lex kind of has this speech about it where he's looking at the painting and he says, oh, the devils actually come from the world above us. Yeah. And it's the saviors that come from below. And it's so cool how, you know, before Superman saves everyone, he's coming from below. And like Batman, when he is being carried up by the bats, he's coming from below and going up. But then he has a line of comment, and through the whole movie, the way that people are going down and the way that people are going up is like such an interesting way to read this movie. But
I actually hadn't noticed that. I love that reading of it.
Yeah,
actually.
it's
pretty dope.
It's cool that and it's so consistent. I really appreciate it, even with stuff like the bathtub and things like that when they're just like hanging out. Yeah, but
yes. Shout out to the bathtub scene.
Yeah, so Bruce is being carried up towards the light, and he even says like, oh, I thought like the bats were carrying me up towards like the light and the good a beautiful lie.
Yeah.
And it's this commentary about he's going up where the villains are, and he thinks it's taking him to where the good stuff is, but the good stuff is actually the bad stuff. And that's how he sees Superman at the beginning of the movie in the next scene. And I just think that like the way that we are rendering our kind of like the way that we perceive each other is really, really cool. And the reason why I wouldn't want a Batman movie before this is because I think we can't give Batman too much time as a credible, smart, actualizing tactician. I think we need to spend our time showing him going down. I think we need to show we need to put him in a position where he can fight Superman. If we give him his own movie, are we all going to be like, come on, Batman, you're better than this? Maybe. But
I thought about that because because that's a really great point. But if I was making these movies, I would do the Batman movie, and I would have him face off against the Court of Owls. As I texted you very briefly about this, I was like, I'm going to bring them up. The Court of Owls is a villain. They're an organization that appeared for the first time in the Batman comics in like 2011, and Batman vs Superman appeared in 2016. So it could have been possible. The Court of Owls is interesting because they're a shadowy organization that wants to take over Gotham, or at least control it from the shadows. They think they're doing the right thing. They have superpowered henchmen called the Talons, who are basically immortal, like Superman. And they have something to do with Batman's origin. I would start the Batman movie with the scenes that we see in this movie. I would, with the funeral and whatnot, and then, maybe the lifting up, maybe not. I think that is a good metaphor. And then I would have him immediately be like, I'm a good detective. I'm going to hunt down the Court of Owls because I think they killed my very prominent parents. And then, just like in the comics, he hunts, he finds their hideout, and then it's not them. And then you flash forward, you make this movie a spiritual successor to The Dark Knight, not The Dark Knight Rises, but The Dark Knight, in which there was a Robin who was killed, which doesn't happen in The Dark Knight. But also there was a Joker. Batman is on the run. He's against, the various cops and whatnot, but he's still being a hero. And then he rediscovers the Court of Owls, and he's like, yes, these people who think they're above the law, who think they're above the people, I'm going to take them down. But in the course of him taking them down, he's like, actually, what I really care about is I think they killed my parents. I don't actually care about justice. I care about revenge. And he's going down that whole pathway. And I think last episode I mentioned, I was like, in Superman, they do this thing where it's like, you have to save Lois or you have to save the world. And Superman always has to save the world. In this movie, I would do, you have to chase the Court of Owls, one of the Talons, or you have to save a civilian. And in this movie, I would have Batman choose not to save the civilian. I would have him choose, like, every instance where Batman could be the hero, he has to be selfish in this film. And in the end, he wins. In the end, he defeats the Court of Owls. In the end, he finds out that they had nothing to do with the death of his parents. In the end, like, but winning for Batman at the end of that film would then result in him going, damn, maybe I'm like too bad of a person to be Batman because I don't care about saving people. I just wanted to get, fulfill my grudge. And then the final scene of that film would be Superman versus Zod. And then
Yeah.
he would go, actually, this is the last thing I can do. And hopefully me and Superman kill each other. And then the scene that we see in the beginning of Batman versus Superman will be the final scene of the Batman movie.
Well, I like this. I like this because I feel like what you're trying to do is supplement the movie that we already have rather than like tell me that the character was wrong or should be changed or this or that.
I think the character that we see in Batman vs. Superman makes total sense. I just think audiences need a little bit more help. The first time I saw it, I was like, damn, Batman is like, when Batman is chasing after trying to get the kryptonite, he is murdering people.
Oh yeah.
he's like, I'm going to drop a car on your head. I'm going to blow you up. Like, there's a random civilian gas tanker that just gets destroyed. And he's like, I don't care about that. I think if I had a Batman movie previous to this, where it was shown as like, nope, Batman is in this position where, because look, in Batman versus Superman, one of the final, discussions he has with Alfred is, I'm older now than my father ever was. And I think that's a great line. And he's like, this is my legacy, destroying Superman, saving the world. If I had a Batman movie before this, where he's lost his adopted son, who is Robin, and where we see that he is chasing after the people he believes has killed his parents, I think that line hits all the more powerfully. Because it's like, he's already spent time on his own trying to reestablish his legacy, and he's like, it's all for naught. Now I have to do this one thing, and I'm just driven for that. And I think if I had that before, it would be even easier for me to forgive him in Justice League later on.
That's I think this is a really great point. I really appreciate that discussion because I think what's happening there is I watched Batman v Superman. At the end of it, I remember saying to Sarah, I was like, okay, this is like not a movie for mainstream audiences.
That's true.
It's like just weirdly not. And like really, really weirdly, because it's asking you to like kind of put down a lot of these things that you assume going into the movie. Yeah. And that's like a really big ask. And I think a lot of the stuff the movie is doing, like the attention it's paying, and even with like lines like the one that you just pointed out, it's almost like surprising to hear them in the movie without all of this kind of stuff underneath it, really making sure you know what it means.
Yeah. That's true.
So, man, that's really interesting. I really like that movie. I got to tell you, I think the artists involved probably wanted a Batman movie. And from what I understand about nudging Snyder along, I you know what I mean, and because the studio is so annoying. My gosh, there were rumors before this one came out that this one was supposed to be a 2-part movie. That Dawn of Justice was like the name of the first part, which makes sense. Because why would you give it a subtitle otherwise?
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
no,
so
they
strange.
rushed him so much in this. I just feel like, because we get introduced to Batman in this movie. We get introduced to Wonder Woman in this movie. I think her introduction works really well.
Me too.
I don't know shit about her by the end of the movie.
Right.
Except that she's been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We get a slight introduction to, the Flash.
Right.
Cyborg and Aquaman. And the Flash gets introduced twice. There's just a lot. There's a lot in there. And it's like, if I'm sitting there watching it in theaters, I don't know if I'm really prepared to go into it for the second movie in the series. Especially because I'm like, because of Marvel, I'm feeling like, they're building up to Justice League because Marvel was building up to Avengers, which is, that's not DC's fault. But a part of me is like, there's a lot more to this story. You're already doing all of this right now in movie 2? Okay,
I hear you. So the only one that bothers me is, like, to be totally honest, I'm not bothered by Wonder Woman, and I'm not bothered by the Flash. I am bothered by looking at the files on the computer at the other people, because I get it, and I get why it's there, and I get we're looking, this movie is very like the we have to find the other people like us thing, or like you, he says to Wonder Woman. I think that line is enough. I don't think I need to see Cyborg and Aquaman in the videos, but I do like that Wonder Woman kind of carries on this thematic thing of like, I can't be Wonder Woman because of the world.
Yeah.
And I like how that's reflected in Batman and Superman as well. So I think she fits there. And I
Definitely.
yeah. And honestly, any scene with Wonder Woman I thought was actually pretty good. So
she shines. Gal Gadot shines all the time.
And I think this is definitely more contentious. The reason I don't mind the Flash is for two reasons. One, I think that the dream in which the Flash like contacts him I think it thematically works because we have several other instances of dreams in this movie, and dreams are only ever doing one thing. You think a dream is going to show you something nice and lovely, but these dreams are all lies. They are all doom. They are all darkness. And I think that feeds into the unexpected of where the good things come from and where the bad things come from. So I really enjoy it on that level. And I like that the Flash is like trying to say something helpful and good, but he even has that line where he's like, I'm too soon. He's like one movie too early.
Yeah.
And what he ends up doing is perfectly feeding into Batman's paranoia about the current situation.
Exactly.
And so I actually do like that, but again, I understand where as like a mainstream audience goer, that is a lot to ask. It's
a lot to ask, and the thing is, it's like by the point the Flash, shows up, it's like, all right, now I get it. Like we're seeing dreams, but when the Flash shows up, I'm like, that was real.
Yeah.
And then it's played off as a dream. I don't know if they should have done that. I don't know. If
he wakes up and then he wakes up again.
Again, yeah. I don't know if I like that aspect of it, but I do like the Flash's appearance more.
Now, Will,
having seen it multiple times.
What if the Snyder cut redeems this moment?
See, this is the thing, man. Sequels can make previous movies look way better.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of this. So I hold out my hope for that. I hope it does. It's 4 hours long.
This is one of the few things we know will be addressed in the Snyder cut. There is no way this movie gets from beginning to end without sending Flash into the past. No way.
Oh yeah.
Like
100%.
This was a part of a plan that like nobody just puts this in a movie.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. Well, I want to call your attention to some stuff that I want to make sure we don't miss. So just starting from the beginning of the movie. I really like Bruce Wayne in Metropolis while the end of Man of Steel is happening. I really like that scene.
That's an amazing scene. I offered a lot of changes, but as you noticed, I kept that scene in there. Yeah. That's a great scene. When I was seeing it in theaters 5 years ago now, almost, I was like, whoa, it's
emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that scene. There's a lot. The thing about this movie is that it has a lot of really good scenes. Yeah. Bruce Wayne in Metropolis is great. When Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent first meet for the first time, that entire sequence is really good. I would have done Lex Luthor a bit differently.
Oh yeah, sure.
Leading up to that,
yeah,
I think I understand what they were going for, but I would have done him a little bit differently. But that scene is still really good. The scene we talked about where with the newscasters and he's saving people, glorious.
Well, in that first scene when Bruce is in Metropolis, two shots in particular are like some of my favorite shots in movies. Him running into the incoming
smoke.
Dust. Oh my god!
Oh my god!
I'm literally like, this is like the most hype thing a superhero has ever done, and they're literally in normal clothes just running on the street. It's so intense. And the second one is in that same scene when he nabs that little girl before she gets stuff. That's like the most Batman thing I've ever seen in my life. That movement. 100%. Oh my god.
But imagine that coming at the very end of a movie where Batman is like, I have to put down the cowl. I'm no longer the Caped
No, you're right. That's good.
But I have to still be a good guy.
Yeah, you're right.
But I can't be Batman.
Yeah. No, it's good. I understand. No, you're right. That's a good.
I mean, I'm just pointing this out to you because one day we're gonna make a Superman movie, and then by extension we're gonna run the DC universe. So I'm just trying to win you onto my side right now.
God, when we're at the head of the DC universe, and I'm over in the corner going, a Booster Gold trilogy.
I mean, Booster Gold that needs to happen actually. So.
Yes. Oh man. Another scene I really like is weirdly, this is like, I did not expect this in this movie. When they go to like the random Middle East country, they actually have a kind of unproblematic depiction of these people, because
Yeah.
Lois is talking to them, and Lois, classic American journalist, first thing she asks, "Are you a terrorist?" And
Right.
and it's kind of funny because she has this whole explanation where she's like, America has decided to stay neutral and we're not going to intervene with anything. And he goes, oh yeah, so like those drones that come around here, those are just, those are neutral drones. And that whole scene, watching it again now, is amazing because it also doubles as commentary about Superman, because he is saying, oh, no one is neutral, and that's a big thing that we're talking about with Superman in this movie.
Exactly.
And I gotta tell you, that is one of those scenes that I think first watch is like impossible to watch.
True.
It's confusing. You
don't know what's going on. Why are these people being shot?
You have no idea why they're there. You have to listen to every single line to like understand what's happening. Like Lois says like very quickly, who are these security people and how are you paying for them? Yeah. And it comes and goes really fast. And I also just think the idea that Superman is being framed is also just so slyly done that if you're just watching this movie, you could miss it. And this is like one of my other big points. So my first one is about the depiction of Batman. This is my second one. I think this movie said, okay, Lex Luthor is going to pit Batman and Superman against each other, but he can't do it in a way that's really obvious, because then the audience will go, well, if I can figure this out, Batman and Superman can't. So I think you need to be a little confused about all of these elements until the very end. And I think the problem that this movie kind of presents is we got to the scene where Superman is on the roof with Lex, which I really love. And
top 3 scene.
Oh God, I love that scene.
Honestly, I have a lot, I don't have a lot of issues with Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Originally I did, but having rewatched it, I'm like, you know what? I appreciate his performance more now. But that scene, he kills it in that scene. Kills that scene.
Like really, like, it surprised me too, but something that like more mainstream audiences wanted from that scene was for him to kind of say, oh, it was me all along. They wanted him to say it. It was me in the desert. It was me stopping the checks going to Wally. It was me doing, and I think the fact that that we didn't get that confused a lot of people. And I like that all we're giving Lex Luthor is that he's really smart. So smart that you don't entirely know what's going on until he wants you to. And
that's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. I'm still gonna push back on you.
No, you should because does that mean it makes the best movie? Maybe not. But I don't know. There's something about that where once you know all the parts and you see everything he's doing, this is a man's year-long plan to pit Batman and Superman against each other, and he low-key lets you know during the movie that he knows both of their identities, and even gets them together at that party is part of his plan. He invites Clark,
both of them.
And Perry makes a joke about it, and you have no idea that that's why. And then when you figure it out, it's like this little reward for you where you're like, oh my god, I see his plan. And I that to me as a viewer is like really worth it. But I'm also the kind of fan that wants to rewatch these and wants to get as much out of them as I can. So
I think you can keep that scene.
Yeah.
But because I've postulated having a Batman movie before this, I am therefore cutting off like the first half hour of this movie in a lot of ways. If it were me, I love what you said about Lex Luthor being smart. If it were me and I were making this movie, I would have done the Batman movie. This movie comes out maybe a year later. Batman vs. Superman comes out like in 2017 instead of 2016.
Yeah.
And we begin this movie with a riot at like Arkham Asylum or one of the Gotham prisons. Batman shows up and he's fighting off criminals, being overly brutal.
Yes.
Then there turns out to be a superpowered character who has been brought to one of the Gotham prisons and he has started off this thing. Batman's fighting him, and then Superman shows up. And then you have both of them fighting against the criminals, But Superman sees Batman being overly brutal. He's like, "Oh, you're shitty.
I'm gonna stop you too.
I'm gonna stop you
Obviously.
too."
Okay, yeah.
But Batman sees Superman and he's like, "At the end of the last movie, you fucked up my whole city, so we have a problem now." And from the so within the first 15 minutes, you have them at odds. And me personally, I would have this riot be set off by Lex Luthor secretly. You wouldn't discover this until later in the movie, because the character who will be arrested and brought to a Gotham prison, because you've already seen Superman, you've already seen Batman, will be the Martian Manhunter. He will be exposed to a flame, and that's what sets it off, because he's afraid of fire. And he was exposed by Lex Luthor. And he sets off the riot. He has to be stopped by Superman. It'll be very difficult for Superman to stop the Martian Manhunter because he's a powerful character.
Mm-hmm.
And that also sets it off as like Batman sees him in person. He's like, I'm not built for this. I need to do some things that, to really take this guy out if I need to, because I'm not built for it as a regular person.
This is interesting. I see this. I see this coming together, because essentially what you're doing is you're mainlining the confrontation instead of having it be kind of like this psychological buildup. It's a almost like perfect situating of all of these moving parts at the same time to get them
at
to
least
run
in the
into
beginning.
Each other. Yeah, that's
and there's a letdown at the end. They don't actually get to fight because it's the beginning of the movie.
Right.
That's what I would do.
This is this is a good idea. I understand this. I'd like to see this movie as well. This is this totally makes sense to me. I think this is especially when we talk about like pacing, I think that makes more sense. I mean, my main issue with this movie, having rewatched it, is just the pacing. It's just like it's just so much to fit in. I'm like, gosh, if you rewatch it a couple of times, I think it works perfectly fine. Right.
But the first time, it's like you said, like I'm gonna miss some things because I'm not really expecting.
It's literally impossible to not miss things, and I think, and the weird thing is that I think the movie is like counting on it. I think it's like kind of counting on you to, and that's why it's so strange. It's like, oh, it's okay. I kind of want to keep going a little bit with So
talk to me about Lex though. I gotta talk. Okay. I want you to. What do you think about Lex?
Okay, so first off, incredibly funny factoid. I watched an interview with Jesse Eisenberg where he said the first time you see Lex, he shoots that basketball and it goes in. Apparently, it took him way too many shots. And
I'm not gonna lie. I was looking at his shooting form. I was like, "There's no way."
Apparently, it went in, and he was so relieved. He was so happy. He like didn't even know if he said his line. He was like, yeah. But so that's a little fun fact. Okay, so Jesse Eisenberg is Lex. I honestly think he could have used a little more time, because I think he does a good job when the camera's on him. But I like the casting choice for a couple of reasons. I think you've got big, beefy Superman, big, beefy Batman, and you need somebody that's going to serve a little bit more as like a foil to them. That's the first thing. And I also think that like when this movie came out, and still now, we're looking at like a kind of like a tech billionaire who is a little more modern and is a little more Steve Jobs than he is like the oil tycoon, the railroads guy of old Lex Luthor. So I kind of like that, and I think
is he a little Elon Musk? Would you say?
Yeah. And I think the reason why it works for me is those scenes where he turns into like a sniveling psycho are like my favorite Lex moments in this movie, because it's a version of crazed and egotist that I get in the modern context. I really enjoy when Lex is giving the speech at his event.
Okay, this is a controversial scene, so
yeah.
Give me everything you think about that, because he is. I'm trying to find my my note on this. I think it's like a library event, right? Because she's like, he's a philanthropist and a book lover and all this other stuff. He's like, Mickey, oh, you're gonna embarrass me. Open bar.
And I think it's one of these things where he is in the way that like all of these billionaires are kind of frauds when it comes to like real like old money, high society kind of life or whatever.
Yeah.
He's trying to like fit into this crowd, and he's literally just like bugging out. and oh my god, and I just think the way that he plays it is it's informed by the little hints that we get about his relationship with his father, and that's what sets him off in the speech. And I think I really like that detail because this movie is about like there's a lot in this movie about family.
That's a fact.
And
That's
yeah,
a fact. At one point we're gonna have to talk about
of
the
course.
walk in the wilderness,
Of course,
where he meets where Pa can't pops
Right.
back up. But staying on Lex, I initially I really hated the way he played it, but having rewatched it this time, I was like, no, I actually really love the way you did it. I think for me, here I am again being like, if I was writing it, whatever.
Yeah.
This movie's so long, and because I've already chopped off the first half hour, I have a lot more time to play with. I would have had him sound extremely coherent, but like galaxy brained for the first like 30 seconds of the speech, and then had him devolve. And like and once he like have him like avoid bringing up his father, but not being able to do it, and then once he brings up his dad, Alexander Luthor the senior or whatever, the first, then have him really like actually then devolve. To me, because he starts off, and it's in the lines. It's not even just him. I think it's in the lines where he starts off kind of scattered. It reads as like, I mean, is Lex that smart, or is he just kind of lucking into all of this? I mean, obviously, I think by the end of the film, you can tell like, no, he's that smart. He's just socially bad, maybe because of his smarts, and also because of his because he's insane.
Yeah, and I think part of that too is that he, in his like little speech and throughout the movie, he kind of talks about how knowledge
psychopathy.
How like knowledge should equal power.
Yeah,
and he's like having this speech about Prometheus and the gods, and he's doing all this, and it's
But
like,
why don't we get to see that speech? It's so broken up,
right?
It's we both have this professor at the new school who hates bisecting action.
Yeah, that's
She's
interesting.
Your thesis advisor. That action shouldn't be bisected. Like, give me the speech. Just make it make it a 1 minute speech.
If you just keep the camera on him the whole time in a single shot and let him just chew the shit out of that scenery. I wonder if that's I would enjoy actually watching that. I actually think the camera veers away from Lex a little too much, and I think so. I think it's maybe supposed to be a little bit a part of his like, don't look behind the curtain thing. Because we really just get that scene in the beginning of him very openly being like, oh, I want access to the ship, I want access to Zod's body, here's how I'm getting that done. And that's and we don't know it as the viewer. We think like that is what Lex is doing, and no, Lex is doing everything in this movie. And
literally,
I think that's like one of the craziest things that's going on here is that like when you actually like put on top of each other everything Lex did, like Batman was branding the people, Lex made sure they died.
Yeah, he was the reason they were getting shanked in the prisons. It was Lex.
That to me is like, holy shit. Like they bent over backwards to be like, no, Lex got every angle on this thing. He figured out who your identities were, and it wasn't even a big deal. It wasn't even. He was just like, "Oh yeah, I got it. I saw them at a party. I got it. No, I got it."
Which is why I want him to discover the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, I think this.
But also, I think that there's not a lot that this movie does wrong. I just think it doesn't emphasize things at the right points.
No, I hear you. There's a version of this movie that starts with Lex and lets the audience in on the fact that he is setting up Batman and Superman to fight each other. There's a version of this movie that does that.
And I think there's also a version of it where, I think there's a version of this movie that starts with Lex and tries to convince you that he's not a villain for most of it. And at the end he is.
Yeah, I think so too. That's kind of in line with some of the rhetoric in the movie too. So I want to talk about something that I said in Man of Steel. I didn't like how Superman looked as Clark. I kind of like him as Clark in this movie.
He's improved. Dude,
that's when he shows up in that apartment with the flowers and is like, because he kind of looks like he's kind of a goof. and I kind of like it. That's kind of what I wanted. And I gotta tell you, I get emotional every time I see him go into the tub with Lois. It like hits it does. It pulls on my heartstrings. I really like that.
That's a good scene.
It's a good visual with the bathtub like overflowing.
And you know what? I think he worked on his Clark voice more for this film than he did in Man of Steel.
Maybe
I kind of was like, you know what? I like how you sound, man. Good for you.
That's interesting. he says in that scene with Lois in the bathtub, he says even to Lois, who is suspicious of him, I didn't kill those men, if that what you're saying. And she says, I'm saying I want to understand what happened. And
Right.
and I think what's funny is that we get that little scene of the woman testifying before Congress being like,
Yeah.
Superman killed everybody. And I gotta be honest, the movie doesn't go out of its way to be like, no, he didn't.
Right.
You-
It just lets
you-
you sit there
No,
like you're a regular American viewer of this news program.
And I kind
I
of
do like that.
And that's the thing. That's exactly what I wrote in my notes, is that you are kind of cast in that role. And you assume that Superman didn't do it. But all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, but I also have Batman killing people. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and he did kill at least one person. Like the guy who's holding Lois hostage at the end, he's dead. Like you
Oh,
don't
no.
get thrown through 4 walls and survive.
no,
that.
Batman is 100% killing people in this movie, and I don't mind it. He says to Alfred, Alfred goes like, new rules, and Batman goes, we are criminals. You know, and Alfred's basically like, oh, okay, so men fall from the sky and you freak the fuck out and just decide you're gonna do whatever. You know, I think it's all in there, and I think we kind of keep talking about this. There's okay. I've got a lot in my notes here. I've got the little bit about Wally spray painting the Superman statue. And
I like that scene.
Me
like
too.
that scene.
There's stuff this movie
I like
does
his character, honestly.
I like that actor. He does a good job. I actually think Lois going to his apartment and finding the fresh groceries is actually kind of good sleuthing. It kind of like shows Lois doing a little bit of like the stuff that Lex kind of does.
Yeah.
I like that. Dude, the commentary in this movie, I mentioned the terrorist comments. Clark to his boss. When you run a story, you're making a choice about who matters.
Oh yeah. No.
I was like, Clark? In this movie? When did this come out?
That's a fact though. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a journalist. Journalist we need, not the one we deserve. Though.
Dude, Clark. Another great moment in this movie. Lex saying, oh, it's kind of this silly idea that my dad will come back if I keep this room exactly the same. And then he says, the magical thinking of orphan boys. And I just want to call attention to the fact that there are 3 orphan boys in this movie.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And I actually was like, whoa, what a low key little, the way that the things in this movie are talking to each other so quietly is like it's like one of my favorite things about it. It's kind of like why I like, I think Hamilton does this in its songs, but louder.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It has some motifs that carry through. That's very interesting because both of the heroes get to, Batman is dreaming about Martha all the time.
Yeah.
Superman gets to have a conversation with Pa Kent. What does Lex get? Nothing.
Ooh, I love that.
He just gets the room.
Well, that's such a good point. Yeah. Wow, I really like that. People point out to Clark that every act is a political act. Somebody we were talking about this earlier, that montage of all the news things with like Neil deGrasse Tyson and all those people. Somebody literally says something that I said in our last episode. They're like, what if he's just a guy trying to do the right thing?
Yes, when he saves the astronauts. Oh my goodness.
I love that.
Yes.
And it's so cool because we actually get to see Superman watching the news, watching these people talk about him. And Henry Cavill has this moment where he doesn't overly act. He just is looking at it. And he's like, what am I supposed to do? He's just saving he's saving people, and everybody on TV is going, he's a god, he's Jesus. He's Jesus. and he's just looking at the TV like, okay. That's a take.
Yeah. What? Oh my goodness. I mean, there's a lot in this film.
Oh, there's so much in this movie.
What to ask you about? I mean, if you gotten this far and you haven't realized that we may go for 2 hours, I'm sorry.
We haven't talked about the nightmare scene.
The one where the
future.
No, that one that's beautifully directed. First of all,
oh my god. Well,
for all my issues with the writing, Zack Snyder knows what the hell he's doing behind the director's seat.
This rewatch of these movies has made it very clear to me that holy shit, he knows how to hold a camera. Because first off, every fight scene in this movie is a 10. Like weirdly, unbelievably good fight scenes. I love the nightmare fight scene. I think the directing in the Batman versus Superman fight scene is like magical. The choreography, the way that sometimes Batman's winning, sometimes Superman's winning. Like the flow of the battle is crazy. But let's stick with the nightmare scene. Yeah, because this is insane.
This movie is there's issues with the movie, but there's like the fact that they're like, we found the stone and it's green lights. I don't think I've ever heard anyone discuss how brilliant that is, because I've seen this movie like 3 times. I forgot that they didn't have the kryptonite in the box when Batman pulls up.
Oh
and
my god!
I'm probably gonna be surprised every other. Well, now that I'm talking about it, I'm not gonna be surprised anymore. But that's brilliant.
I really love the nightmare scene. I love how we keep building on Bruce's paranoia. I'm really, really excited to see this followed up on the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, I mean, even when you talk about this nightmare scene, like Batman emerges and there's like at first you think it's nuclear mushroom cloud in the background, but then you be like eventually like you can figure out it's apocalypse and like Earth has been terraformed, and like he's like, did you get the stone? From the beginning, you can, if you're paying attention, you can see in the background there's everyone's face is visible except for the one guy who works for Superman. He's hooded and he's very ominous in the background. It's like, oh my goodness, Zach, what are you doing, man? Who taught you how to direct like this?
Who taught him how to direct like this? No, that is a great question. I've always thought about this because I literally have no idea how somebody sits in a CGI studio and is just like, no, I got it in my head here. I know what to do. Like, insanity.
Right. I don't know. I don't get it, but I'm impressed. That's for sure.
Dude, when Batman is fighting like several people at once and it's just that one shot of the camera spinning around and him doing those moves, I don't care.
No, that was great.
I literally don't care if at certain points you can see that it's like a little fake. I love watching the choreography of the fight.
No, I agree for sure.
So
you see the parademons coming in. And honestly, shout out to this, because most of the time we have like melee focused characters who are in gunfights. A lot of times, like people who are using guns, the villains will be like, "Oh, my gun is a melee weapon now." They didn't do that much in that scene, and that's really impressive. It was not lazy.
That's a good point. You're right. They didn't do that.
There was a lot of shooting, which there should be if there are guns. So yeah,
man, you're right, and it didn't like stop the fight. It just kind of flowed. Yeah, man, that's a good fight scene. What do you think of the Batmobile in this movie? We have a reveal of a new Batmobile, new design. It's flat. It's low to the ground.
Yeah. Honestly, first time I saw it, I was like, because he was killing people. I was like, sheesh, man, you're doing a lot. But I always thought it was cool. I think its introduction is amazing because he's like, I'm gonna tear through this building. I'm gonna tear through this fire. I'm gonna tear through this boat. And then Superman shows up and it's like, you can't do anything with Superman.
Well, that is why I love that scene. It's literally, we're going to show you the sickest, most disgusting Batmobile you've ever seen in your life. And then Superman shows up and the sound effect they have for when he swats it away, it's literally like, clink.
Yeah. No, that was hilarious. But that's also the end. That's great because Batman is not afraid. He's like, tell me.
Yeah.
Do you bleed?
I love
it.
You will. Yeah, I love it.
No,
that was a good Ben Affleck Batman. That was good. That's what he sounded like.
Honestly,
that was good. I'm impressed.
Had to do it for him.
That came out way more on it than I expected it to. My policy on Batmobiles is the flatter it can be, the better. I want it to be stupid how low to the ground it is. I want it to be a pancake.
I love that.
I really like it. Yeah. We have a conversation with Mom where Mom says, be their hero, be their angel, or be none of it.
How do you feel about that?
So I don't think I think, the movie actually does a really good job of throughout the movie reminding you that each hero's mother's name is Martha. And I think like Martha has a significance in this movie, obviously. So I think she needs to be here to like remind us of her. And the reason I really like it is because I think it's following up on, she is here as a leftover from Man of Steel, and I think it's following up on Man of Steel themes.
Yeah. I like the lines she says, especially in that scene.
Yeah.
It's weird to me because like when this movie was coming out and I was watching the trailers, like there was a couple moments in the trailers. That was one moment where I was like, oh, this is about to be amazing. Yeah. This is about to be...
You're right. That wasn't a trailer.
And it's like, or be none of it. And it's like, you could be none of it. Like,
Damn.
now I feel for you, Superman. Just do nothing, man. Just be a guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit as hard in the film. I wonder,
Mm.
and I'm not sure. I wonder if it would hit harder if she had more time. I think she does great with what she says, but it's a really short speech. It's like 3
Superman, yeah,
lines.
that's interesting. Well, Superman does not in this movie ever really consider giving up. Superman's whole thing is that he's trying to figure out how to, like, what way is the best way to do it. But the only time
Yeah.
he really considers like giving up, I think, is when he is after.
After the bombing.
Well, my favorite shot. My favorite
The
shot.
the best scene in this film is the moment after the bomb goes off and you see the anguish on his face.
Yes,
I
well,
have
I'm so
never
glad you
felt
said
more-
that. I'm so glad you said that. It's literally my favorite shot in any of these movies when he is standing there in the flames and you just look at him. I was like, a filmmaker understood what this means, and I like
Yeah.
it. Oh my god, it gets me every single time. I love that. That is when he gets defeated. I love
Yeah.
that moment.
And honestly, I'm usually like a detractor of the theatrical experience, air
Yeah.
quotes. But seeing that in theaters, even I didn't like the movie when I saw it, but
Yeah.
I loved that scene.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. When I saw that, I was like, wow, they're doing something. They're on another level with that one.
Oh, it's so good. Like, man, yeah, it really gets me every single time. Every time I watch this movie, I'm like looking forward to that scene.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, it's funny. I love playing like video games, and a lot of people talk about how it's like really hard to make a Superman video game because like how do you lose? And I'm like, whatever just happened there. That's how I pause the game and I reload my last save. And
Right. No, that's a great point. How do you feel about all of the political? We haven't talked about the senator, who I must say, I think her name is June, like Finch or something.
Oh yeah,
Junior senator from Kentucky. Crazy that she is basically Mitch McConnell's counterpart in this movie, and Mitch McConnell is still more evil than her.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that she is kind of the one person in this movie who is kind of immune to Lex. And Lex kills her, but like, she's the one that like Lex shows up and she's just like, no. Yeah. And we don't see that a lot in this movie. We don't see anybody like catch Lex.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Even when I think she's about to fall for it, because at one point, like when they're in his father's like room, she's like, you can say whatever you want to me. And I'm like, oh, she's about to get sexy. Cool. But then immediately she's like, but you can't actually convince me of anything you're saying. Like, you can say whatever you want, but I already know it's all bullshit. It's like, oh, you're a little bit more interested than I thought. I don't like you because you're too opposed to Superman for reasons that don't make sense logically. Right. It makes sense logically in the narrative, but like, if we're being realistic, it doesn't, like, why are you opposed to Superman? He's a good guy.
Yeah.
But I like her in those moments against Lex.
Yeah, I actually think she is kind of like the cipher or the representative for like American government in the movie. She is like who speak on behalf of them. I really like just like watching Superman in his full costume like walk into the courtroom, and you know what I mean. We all just honestly,
the moment he descends from the sky. Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
and from that point on, it's great.
And I think her as a role, there is a moment in this movie that I wish I could edit myself because and this is the only time I'd be so bold as to say this, but I think when she sees the T, it's too long before the explosion happens. I feel like I'm always waiting, and she stutters for like a full 60 seconds, and I'm just like,
that's true.
I get up, figure something out, then make the explosion happen. I don't know, something.
No, you're right, because it's a callback because she the first time she has a long conversation with Lex, she's like, you could call it Granny's tea, or you call it a bucket of piss or whatever, and then it really is his pee later on. It's a good callback, but it is too long.
It's too long. Yeah.
If she's gonna recognize it, she should be like, everybody get out. Yeah, and it should be still too late, but it's just like she's like, I've been screwed. I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, exactly, and even to like think that. It might be a stretch for her to immediately be like, oh man, there's a bomb in here. Fine.
Yeah.
But just make the moment shorter. Show us the tea, turn it around, have the next shot be her face going, what? And then boom.
True.
Like, true. Yeah. So I think that's all you needed. But otherwise I don't mind her. I think it's something that I think we're talking about a lot in this movie, where I feel like she like does her job, and if we wanted to get more from her, we just simply needed to commit some time in some way, shape, or form. Maybe a scene between Lois and her.
Why is Lois talking to everybody in the reporter guys, but she doesn't talk to Senator June?
Right. And I don't know what that conversation would have been, but maybe like some just kind of nebulous talk about like truth and justice and that kind of thing. And that might have been interesting.
True.
Dude, when so Superman stops Batman from stealing the kryptonite, but then Batman just goes to Lex's place and steals it anyway. I've never caught this before in my watching of this film. Lex shows up, sees that the kryptonite has been stolen, and smiles.
I noticed it this time. The first time I watched this, I didn't catch it, but this time I did notice it.
I was like, you movie.
You got me again. It's the smallest smile in the world.
Oh my god, it's so.
It's hard to tell whether he's about to laugh or whether he's about to cry.
The fact that the movie gives him that close up, though, I was literally watching it and I was like, do they give any indication? And then they did, and I was like, Shout
out to the deflated basketball that the camera lingers on.
Incredibly funny. They're like, hey, you remember that basketball? We do.
Right.
Okay, so now we're kind of getting to the point where we've got okay. Before we get to Pa Kent on the mountain, there is a critical scene of Bruce Wayne hulking out doing exercises with a tire, and we see his bare butt in the shower. We see the butt of the Batman.
Gotta get sexy for the for the fans,
dude.
I mean, this is another thing that would be cut in my version because we'd already have a Batman film. I mean, maybe you still get sexy, but you probably wouldn't have the workout because you'd already be worked out.
Dude, that workout was insane. So first off, seeing that naked man in that shower, I've never seen somebody with like that big of a torso. Just like I don't know, the proportions of his body freaked me out a little bit.
Dude, did you see how much he was squatting?
Oh no,
he had like 6 plates on each side. He was like squatting like 800 pounds. Dude, I went to school with guys who are now in the NFL. One of them told me, literally John Reed, who plays, gosh, what NFL team does he play for? He plays for one of the NFL teams. He went to Penn State. Now he plays in the NFL. He's a cornerback. He was like, I squatted 600 pounds before. It feels like you have a broken back and you're carrying a fully grown man up a mountain. And Batman was lifting like hundreds of pounds more than that.
I like it because I think it serves no purpose other than to be like, this is kind of fun. And I like that the tire is present for 2 separate workouts. It's literally, just like it's important. Crazy. It's important to him. Okay, so
he plays for the Houston Texans. He's a quarterback for the Houston Texans. John Reed. Shout out to my boy.
So then we get the videos of the other heroes, which we kind of hit on a little bit. Okay. So we've got, right before he goes to the mountain, we've got a I listened in for this line because I always thought it was something that could have been clarified a little bit better, because Superman is seen helping people after the bomb goes off. So surely they don't think it's him, but they do think it's him. And I always was like confused about that, but there's a line that explains it. And it's, did Superman know about this and do nothing? And people say, how did Superman not stop a bomb that was a few feet away from him? Yeah. So the whole movie is talking about whether he should or shouldn't act. And the American people have been saying, hey, like, maybe you shouldn't intervene.
Right.
So they're wondering if it was kind of a political act on Superman's side to let the bomb go off.
I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah. And
especially because eventually, I remember that, but because eventually it's explained, oh, well, it was lead line, so he couldn't see within it. So I definitely, but no, I love that. That's
I wish it hit it a little bit harder. I think there were some points in this movie that maybe they underutilized Lois's position as a journalist.
Yeah.
And they, you know what I mean? Where instead of like being in the courtroom, maybe it could have just been like Lois talking to people.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly how I would do it, but that's just something that came to mind.
How there's the woman who's like, how does Superman decide who lives and who dies and whatnot? Why does Lois never go to talk to her? Why is it Clark going to go talk to her? I mean, I get why Clark goes and then she's not there, but Lois never makes the attempt. I mean, Lois is involved in that situation as well.
Does she
Especially if
try later? Does she try and then she
I
gets
think
killed?
she makes the attempt, but by that point, like, because the woman eventually gets pushed into a train and she's murdered.
Brutal. I can't believe they killed that woman, dude. I was
Absolutely
shocked.
ruthless.
Ruthless. That guy has a high kill count in this movie.
Oh my goodness, he's like the top assassin in DC Universe.
Oh, speaking of another knowing smile, when Superman shows up the first time and destroys the American Army drone, they show him smiling.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
didn't
like,
catch that the first time, but I did this time too. I was like, oh, sheesh.
Yeah, they knew the whole time. Oh, it's killing me.
See, that's why I'm like, that's a brilliant thing. But if you want the movie to go over well the first time, you just gotta make it a little bit more.
No, I know that's the thing. I'm literally like, this is a movie designed to be watched at least 2 times.
Yeah,
So okay, so then we get Clark going up the mountain, talking to his dead father. This is messing with my brain. If I'm being totally honest, this is messing with my brain.
Yeah.
So what do we think about this scene?
You know, as a writer, I'm like, you should have cut this. But as a watcher, I'm like, I don't know if it makes, physiological sense in the world, but Clark needs this conversation.
I like that it happens.
Yeah.
I can't tell you any. So the story that the father tells him is a story about how when he was younger, he was working on the farm and there was this flood. They acted fast and he ended up saving all of the horses on the farm, but little did he know he ended up
the horses on another farm.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the story is trying to paint for us this situation where you are trying to save people and people get hurt and die anyways.
Yeah.
That and which obviously like speaks to Clark, but does that mean that? And Clark's question is like, okay, so should I not try?
Right.
And that's kind of what he's like talking to his mom about too.
Yeah.
So I really like this conversation, and I really like how it's a predecessor to Batman and Superman fighting. I like.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy we haven't gotten to their fight yet. You know, this scene works way better if in some way, shape, or form in Man of Steel, the Fortress of Solitude had been fully established. Because Clark doesn't have a fortress. If in some way we had a Fortress of Solitude in this movie, and it was just like, it's a computer program, it can simulate Jor-El, but also if it needs to simulate Pa Kent, it could do that. I mean, literally, he's on his walk of solitude right now. They're like, he wants to die. I mean, if Superman's going to go anywhere in the mythos to be like, I'm never going anywhere else again, he's going to the Fortress of Solitude.
Oh, Will, here's how you do it. You have him go to the Fortress of Solitude, and he's like talking to the computer, and he says, I want to talk to my dad. And Jor-El shows up, and then he goes, no, I want to talk to my dad.
Yeah.
And then he shows up. That'd be hype. That'd be a good scene.
That would be great.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about. Okay, we've talked about it a little bit. Superman and Lex on the roof before the big fight with Batman. I think I said everything I liked about that. I really like psychotic is a 3-syllable word. Too big for little minds.
Yeah.
I think that's just a good line.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
Every line he says, like when you get to the rooftop, everything he's doing, even when it's just him and Lois, because she's like, I'm gonna run away. He's like, I'm gonna grab you. Yeah. And in that moment, you think he's gonna throw her off, and he waits like another minute before he throws her off, just to be a little off kilter.
That's save, great. By the way.
Oh gosh,
the falling down, that shot, dude. Why are? Oh my god, it's so good. One of my favorite.
That's an amazing. Superman's never saved anyone better than he saved Lois in that moment.
Oh god, it was
he just appears and he's like, "Of course I would be here for you. You're Lois."
So, and we already said we both really enjoy the scene between Lex and Superman. I think
the pictures the first time really disturbed me.
Dude, because they're scary.
I was disturbed.
Yeah,
I was more disturbed. I was so disturbed. I was like, "Is this movie PG-13?"
It's not.
Is it rated R?
It's rated R.
Oh my goodness.
And I really like when he kind of like puts his hand around Clark's like face and does that little like weird
little
touch
caress.
Thing. Oh my god, so good. Calls him like Clark Joe.
Yeah, that's great.
The whole thing
is, if you kill me, she dies.
It's
And if
like,
you do this, she dies.
oh god, there's so much character in it, and it's such a good play for power. Where like then like there's a very brief moment where Clark goes down and talks to Lois, and he's like, I have to go convince him to help me,
or he's got to die,
or he's got it, and I believe him.
Yeah,
and it's so good, and he flies the saddest fly you've ever seen in your life. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That whole scene is great. I love how as soon as Superman shows up, he's like, and he's like winding up the countdown clock.
And then when Superman eventually does show up again, it's like right after that, clock goes off because he knew.
One of the best lines in this movie is, "When you first came, you had an hour. Now you have less." And it's like, I don't even. The dialogue in this, I don't have much issue with the dialogue in this movie. It's just the pacing. It's just like, what are we concerned with, and in what moments? That's the real issue with the film, I think.
Oh my god, Will, I forgot about that line. That is such a good line. He delivers it perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we get into the actual fight. Yes.
Oh man.
So Superman tries to talk several times.
You think he tries hard enough?
So this whole movie is literally building to this moment. This whole movie is saying, okay, can we get these two in a position where Superman just gives up and Batman sees him as an inevitable evil? I actually think the movie does a really, really good job of getting Batman to the point where he's like, no, I'm killing this guy.
Oh yeah, I would agree. I think I want Superman to try just a little bit harder to say at the beginning, because he shows up, he's like, "Look, Lex," and then he gets hit with the ear thing. Yeah. But I mean, to me, I'm like, you can see he's in armor.
Yeah,
you know he's about to fight you. Try again instead of being like, "There's no time." There's time for you to tell him I'm being blackmailed.
in between the first and second kryptonite hits, I think he should have tried one more time. Yeah, and I think that would have saved it. But but with that being
said,
not
a killer though. It's not a killer.
No, I completely agree, and I think people think it is a killer. And it kind of bugs me because I'm like, it's.
You know why they think it is a killer?
Tell me.
Because the first time Superman grabs him, he's like, "All right, I tried to talk to you. You didn't listen. I'm gonna throw you 3 blocks down."
Yeah, it's so good.
Maybe now you'll listen to me. It's like, no, he's obviously not. He's not gonna listen.
Speaking of, I was pointing this out to Sarah when we were watching it. I love that this movie is like, Clark is a bad fighter. All he knows how to do is throw someone else and hit them hard, and those are all of his moves.
That's it.
He's like, all right, I gotta make a point here. I guess I'll throw him through a building. That worked last time.
That's what I did with Zod.
He literally has no idea. He has no idea what else to do.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's a great point.
So the thing I love about this fight scene is that I feel like it is tableau after tableau after like moment after moment. You feel every beat. You feel everything the two do to each other. And I feel like they get the characters. They get that Superman is like brute force. All he wants to do is fly and punch. And Batman gets these really cool moments with like the smoke bomb, and then Superman goes really fast into it, and Batman's somehow not there.
Oh. Yeah, no, oh gosh, that's amazing.
So good. When Batman takes the sink and hits Superman,
hits him over the head. Oh goodness, the moment like where he hits him with the kryptonite, right? And he's like, boom, and he tries to punch him. Superman tries to punch Batman, and he's weakened because of the kryptonite, and he's like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Why aren't you dead right now?
When he stops his arm.
Look. When he stops his arm.
Literal, like the movie doesn't have that moment where I go, what is this? I'm weak. All you get is that moment of the arm being stopped. He looks at it and is like, this is not good.
Right. What is going on?
And then the second moment like that is the opposite, where he gets stronger. Batman's punching him in the face.
Yeah, he's punching him in the face. And he's like, bump, bump, bump. And it's like, he's punching steel. And he's like, all right, now it's over for you, bro.
We talked about this in Man of Steel, but the power of hitting Superman and him not flinching even a little bit is such a Superman thing.
Definitely. 100%.
Yeah, really 100%. Like that. Really like
big
that.
Big fan.
What a good fight.
When he throws him down the middle of the staircases.
Yeah.
I love that, but I would have done it a little bit. What I would have done, especially because you always talk about how you love the Superman fight scene, I would have had him get thrown down like in the middle, and I would have had Superman trying to reach and fly and failing.
Ooh. Oh, that's
Because in
such a
the
good
way it's in the
idea.
movie, he's really kind of unconscious until he hits the ground. I
Yeah.
would have had him trying to be like straining to like fly away.
I really like that. I think that would have been a cool shot. That's really cool. It's hard to fault it too much though. I think it
Oh
succeeds.
yeah.
It
I like it.
succeeds
Though. I like it a lot.
on just so many levels. It succeeds, and I guess that brings us to we've got the Kryptonite spear,
Your
and
parents taught you that you were special. My parents taught me something else.
yeah, the fact that he invokes his parents, even in that moment, that it's that we're telling you, the audience, how present it is in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Martha line happens, there is like a little bit of we're trying to smooth that out. Now, well, this Martha moment is one of the most maligned moments in
Oh,
movie.
it's been memeified to death. Why are you saying that name? Why are you saying that name?
Will, do you
What are you
hate
saying?
Do you hate it?
I don't hate it. I actually, I've said a lot that I went to go see this movie. I didn't like it that
Yeah.
much. When I saw this movie in theaters the first time, I actually was like, that makes perfect sense.
Can I tell you the weirdest way that this hit me watching it? I'm a huge superhero nerd. I've read comics my whole life. I have never once
made the connection. Yeah, not me neither.
never
Until
once
then.
was like, oh wow, their moms have the same name.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me. So when that happened, my jaw dropped. I was like, what? We've been sitting on this for 80 years.
I like that they did it, but I think it works even better in my universe where there's a Batman movie before this.
No,
Because you can see Martha.
Yeah.
I mean, in this movie, you only see Martha getting killed.
Right.
And you don't even really hear her talk. You hear Thomas Wayne talk more than you hear Martha talk.
Yeah.
I think you could give her more agency and have her be more important in Bruce's life if she had a scene or two. And you saw Bruce being like, I must avenge Martha. And you get to this, it's like, everything I do is for Martha. Why are you saying that name? And then boom.
Well, I even think go back to the beginning where Thomas and Martha are killed, and and even in that scene, make like Martha the one that goes in front of Bruce.
Yes.
Because Thomas has the attention in that scene, and
for sure.
They give the attention to him. His last word is Martha. That's what they give. That's what they give the attention to. I think there's a better way to do it. I completely agree. And I get what you're saying too. Is like there's an opportunity there to take this part of the Batman mythos and make it more prominent to this version than you ever could have done before. And I agree. I kind of wish that was the case because I feel like please.
No, I was gonna say there's just this strain I've noticed in filmmaking, maybe with only in the last 10 years, where like there are lines. It happens in this movie, it happens in Tenet, where it's like, I'm a mother, you could never understand it. And that's probably true enough. But at the same time, I still want you to portray that love. I want to see it, even if I couldn't, step into those shoes, because it'll be more powerful.
Especially for somebody as like mythologized as like the Wayne parents.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a moment for Martha.
For sure.
Yeah, because I feel like we're kind of like asking for something to stick in our minds, so you don't have to do that much work. I hear where you're coming from, but okay, so that's interesting. We both kind of it's funny. I didn't naturally memeify that moment in my brain, and then when it became a meme, it was kind of like the way that the well, on my planet, this isn't an S thing.
Oh,
was memeified, where it just kind of it just surprised me. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's just part of the movie, I guess.
Nah, shout out. I think Trey's gonna get 3 straight shout outs, but he's always good for. Why are you saying that name? Why are you saying that name? Shout out to my boy Trey. I'll on the Twitter, I'll give him a shout out. He's not single, ladies. Unfortunately, I'm single, but Trey's not single.
And just to give a little bit for some of our fans that might be more pessimistic about it, I think like a big thing for Bruce in this movie is the way that people talk about Superman. And like it's portraying him as an alien, the way that like Man of Steel kind of like wanted you to see him.
Yeah.
And even when he's like coming into the courtroom, the signs that people are holding, the things that they're saying, like the little drawings of the aliens and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the reminder of did Superman come from where the enemies we're going to be talking about. Did he
Right.
come from the same place, or did he come from Jonathan and Martha Kent?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that reminder of humanity was something that like reminded Batman of himself. And
Yeah.
So
Let me
I
ask
think
you
it
a
tracks.
weird question.
Please.
It might be a non sequitur.
Yeah.
As the current trilogy, as you've noted, it's
Right.
Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League.
Mhm.
It's a Superman trilogy essentially. Right now, it seems like the main big bad of the trilogy is Darkseid.
Yeah.
Or I guess Steppenwolf, because Darkseid doesn't appear in really.
But he will.
But whatever. He will in the Snyder cut.
That's right.
But currently he doesn't really.
Right.
He has
Right.
like a couple cameos, whatever.
Yeah.
Should it have been him, or should it have been Lex?
Oh God. Okay. Okay. So this is something I toyed around in my brain with as I was watching this movie, because there's a little part of me that wonders if Lex was influenced by Darkseid at all in this movie, and I kind of hope to get some clarity about that in the Snyder cut, because I think the combo of Darkseid and Lex maybe having some kind of communique and working together and being like, oh, I'm gonna kill Superman and then you're gonna come to this world and we have some kind of deal. I kind of like that as an ultimate thing, because it gives Lex his moment and gives Darkseid his moment. Right. But I guess overall, I think I like Darkseid more. I think this movie actually does a good job of being like, here is who Lex is as like a player in the game, but I think this is him at the top of his powers, to be honest with you. I don't think he can do better than this.
Right.
So yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think you're on point. The only way I think I would have liked it more if he was the ultimate guy.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you would require more movies than just the three, like, in that. Like, you would require the Batman movie I suggested. You would probably require another Superman movie before this one as well, in which Lex appears and in which he gets away with anything he does. And I think instead of Doomsday in this film, and instead of Superman dying, you would probably need Bizarro in this film, and you would have to probably have Doomsday be like, okay, I'm creating Bizarro to kill Superman, but I have Doomsday in the back burner to kill everyone except for me, and I'll kill Darkseid with Doomsday because no one can kill Doom. So that would require a lot more extra than is what it was planned. I mean, I would write it. You know, Warner Brothers, if you want to pay me, I'll do it. But...
You know, it's funny because I see a world in which there are these other DC movies and they have their villains, and then at the end of them, there's maybe a little nod that like, oh, Lex set this up.
Yeah.
And kind of coming together to some
the same way you talk about like the Joker appearing in every DC movie and being a different actor. I kind of want Lex to just be pulling the strings on everything. Yeah. And there's like, he has like a slight like theme music in this film. Not a lot, but every time it comes up for Lex, it just reminds me of Pinocchio. And I'm like, you're pulling the strings, Lex.
Could you imagine if there was a version of this franchise where Lex showed up several times, but every time it was like he was good and everybody liked him? And he's just like
easily.
Slowly like he's running for president and he's doing great and he's like, oh yeah, no, this is good. And then like in universe, when they find out it's him, it's like a shock.
Yeah.
That's
how I would do it.
That's kind of interesting, actually.
Honestly, one day we're gonna do that.
Yo, if they back then got billionaire crazy person Lex Luthor to be like running for president and stuff, that would have played really well nowadays.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, I think this film is hurt by the fact that it came out in the final months of Obama's term instead of the first months of Trump's term.
Whoa. The world wasn't ready.
It wasn't prepared.
Damn. So coming into the last act of this movie, we get our confrontation with Doomsday, and I kind of like that this whole movie is literally just Lex being like, all right, I'm gonna need some time to do this thing at the stadium to get this crazy shit to go down, so I'm gonna have to like really work overtime to distract Batman and Superman for like an hour. and this is actually it. This is what was needed to happen the whole time. So we get the introduction of this Doomsday character for everybody to fight,
including Wonder Woman. Shout out to Wonder Woman getting into the full garb kicking ass, taking names.
Is
Love
she
it.
with
Love.
Is she with you? No,
I thought she was with you.
thought she was with you. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I'm a fan. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
yeah. Dude, Wonder Woman's theme.
That's one of the best 5 themes maybe ever created.
I'm
Oh my
literally
goodness.
obsessed with that theme. Anytime that theme comes on in a movie, I get hyped.
Yeah.
It's so
Hans Zimmer
good.
knew what he was doing when he made that.
I was talking to Sarah. I wanted to ask you about the score to this movie because I know you really pay attention to that. I'm so attached to the score in this movie, but I don't really know. I don't pay attention to it. What are your feelings?
The first time I ever watched it, like I just didn't really care.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? When I started to care is when they released the trailer to the Ultimate Edition of this movie,
Mm-hmm.
because it starts off that trailer. You go look it up on YouTube. It's a great trailer. It starts off the same way that Man of Steel starts. Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Da-na. That's a great theme, and of course it has the like the little tinkling sounds
I love
before it.
that.
And that specific track is in this movie even more than it's in Man of Steel, and it's used even more deftly than it is used in Man of Steel. They like Zack Snyder got better at using that theme, because you know when the best moment that theme is used? Well, there's 2 moments. There's one moment when it's used like exactly as it is, and that's the moment, the news sequence when he first saves the little girl on the Day of the Dead, and then it leads into like, is he a messianic figure? Is he this, he that? But he's saving the ship and all these other things. It's used in there, and it's also like a reverse, like a very muted version of it is used when the Capitol blows up.
Oh
And
shit!
it's very different because you never really get to the badoom, but the beginning twinkling is kind of like muted and shifted a little way. Now the score in this movie is great. I'm a big fan of that.
Man, that's so cool. I feel like, just as like a side note, I feel like the way that these DC movies have been able to like nail the music is actually like worth bringing up, because I think a lot of like huge franchises actually kind of struggle with that. And I'm kind of thinking a lot of like the new Star Wars movies don't really like have anything that's standing out to me in my brain of like,
not literally nothing. I mean, it's a shame to say, some people would think, but the movie that has the best Star Wars score is Phantom Menace, because it has Duel of the Fates.
oh yeah, even I know that one. That one's hype.
Yeah. Da da
Yeah.
da da da. That, I mean, and that's probably the worst Star Wars film, although not my least favorite. But the new Star Wars movies don't have anything that stands up to that.
Yeah, it's hard. It's interesting. A lot of I'm even thinking of like the Marvel and the Spider-Man and the like and I don't know. It's not the same.
People will dunk on us if we don't bring up the one Avengers theme that plays. There's an Avengers theme.
Oh no, well I know it, and they're obsessed with it, and they need to chill out because it's too much. No, it's too much. I hate it. It's too much. No, it's too much. You can't just like anytime somebody even thinks about being heroic, be like, oh, here we go. You know, and no, it drives you crazy.
Oh man, one day we'll have to talk about the Avengers and whatnot on this podcast. We'll have to talk about Infinity War. We'll have to talk about Endgame.
Tell Avengers to come out with a Snyder cut. I'll be there.
Honestly, oh my goodness, just give me Thor and Endgame getting told by his mother that everyone fails at what they're supposed to be.
Whoa.
What matters is what you're supposed to. What matters is who you are.
Wait, I got
Best
one for
line.
you. I got one for you. Give me. Zack Snyder has 8 Marvel movies that he's been tasked with in Snyder fashion editing into one.
Oh my goodness. No, he could do that.
Just make it like one of your movies, you know? He's like, oh yeah,
yeah, 100%.
Listen, I could do 12 if you want. Like, I don't
turn down all the colors. Hire Hans Zimmer.
Hey, did you feel like the color palette in Batman v Superman was a little warmer than it was in Man of Steel?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I felt that
45% warmer.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that wasn't my imagination. I felt like there was an adjustment.
They definitely heard. They either heard the criticism or they were just like, that was the choice we made for the last movie. We're making a different choice for this.
And I gotta tell you, if that's the stance that they were gonna have about it, I actually can see that argument in my brain.
Yeah, I mean, it could go either way for me, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought I like the color palette in this one for sure.
What do you so Doomsday shows up. He's this weird CGI weirdo. What
Yeah, I
what do you
mean,
think about him?
so I've never understood this thing where people are like, "Oh, CGI is so bad.
Me
Why do
neither.
we have CGI? It doesn't look realistic." I'm like, Doomsday's 10 feet tall. He's never gonna look like anything you've ever seen. So like, what are you talking about? So I don't think.
Please cast a goat to play Doomsday.
Yeah, so you're not gonna hear me complain about that. Although I do recognize that many people will probably complain about the CGI.
Well, Will, did you know that Superman's cape is never actually in the movie? It's just CGI.
I didn't know that.
So when
Now
people
that you
tell
say
me
it makes somewhat sense in certain scenes, but never, that's wild.
never, so when people tell you about CGI being fake, I'm just want to say that cape looks damn good.
Nah, the cape looks really great a lot of the time.
They wanted full control of that of cape rippling.
As they should. Shout out to that moment where it's like ostensibly a hurricane and they've drawn the Superman symbol on the roof and they're reaching towards him. That's the moment that works both within trailers and within the film.
Yeah, you're right. I love all those stupid moments. But yeah, but anyways, back to
Doomsday. I like him. I like the fact that as soon as he's born, he's like, I'm gonna kill Lex. And Superman has to save him. I like how strong he is. I like that Batman almost gets murked like 50 times in the fight.
Yeah. Dude, that really quick shot of Batman bouncing off the wall and then using his grappling hook, that mirror. Did you catch this? It mirrors Dark Knight Returns comic book.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Every time.
I love that comic. Oh
every time that little flash, I'm like, oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy how each of the players kind of like act in the fight scene. I like the role that like Wonder Woman plays, where she's just kind of like showing how strong she is. Batman's like dodging around, rolling around, doing his thing.
Yeah, Superman's like, oh, I gotta save Lois.
Yeah,
and Wonder Woman really works in that because she's smiling a lot throughout that fight. It's almost like she's like, damn, I haven't had a fight this good in like 60 years. Let's get it on, bro.
I love that side of Wonder Woman, actually.
Yeah. That's great.
We get the big beat, which is Superman being like, all right, we're going to space. I'm just going to end this shit, and I'm going to body a nuclear bomb.
Yes. Which is, he tried that in Man of Steel with Zod, and immediately it failed because Zod was like, oh, no, I'm sending you back to Metropolis.
Yeah.
And it works way better. Doesn't work ultimately, but it works way better in this movie because he's able to hold Doomsday until the nuke hits. And there's a moment when the nuke is coming in and he looks back at it. And honestly, this time I was like, Soups, you see that it's a nuke. You should just go back to Earth and let the shit hit Doomsday. And he chooses not to.
Dude, he does
a big moment.
He does the Goku and Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z where he holds them down.
Oh my goodness. Special beam cannon.
Yeah. No, he literally does that. And I'm like, okay, that's Superman. That's his first attempt at literally being like, okay, if I die, I die.
Yeah.
And when he is in space all messed up.
Oh, great scene.
So cool. I think I said during Man of Steel, anytime Superman gets hyped up by the sun, I don't know why. That's like a Gatorade get hype moment for me.
100%.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
So
totally, and to see him be revitalized, that works way better than it should have.
It's so cool. But then, so ultimately he comes down. Dude, I love how they just let Lois in this movie throw the spear into the little river just to have to go get it later. I literally think it's so funny because she's like, listen, it makes sense for me to get rid of the spear until it doesn't. And then
now we need it again.
It's so good. But it allows Clark to have his moment where he comes from below, which I think is important to have before killing Doomsday. So I appreciate it for that. And I really like his I think his heartfelt goodbye to Lois really lands.
Yeah.
And there's something really small that happens in that exchange where Superman earlier in the movie is talking about Doomsday and he's like, this is my problem. It's from my planet. And then when he's saying goodbye to Lois, he's like, this is my planet. And he's talking about Earth.
About Earth.
Yeah. And I really appreciated that small little shift for him. And then when he takes off with the kryptonite and he flies a little bit, but he like can't quite do it. Then he flies a little. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Ugh.
Gosh.
I like it. Yeah.
The second half of this movie is really good. The first half isn't horrendous. It's just like why am I seeing this right now?
Yeah.
That's what I usually feel. I mean, not now that I've seen it a few times, but like the first couple times, it's like, do I really care about this? Do I really need a scene where Batman is dreaming about his visiting his parents' grave and then Man Bat jumps out with a bunch of other bats and just attacks him? I don't know if I need that in this movie. Give it to me in a Batman film.
Oh my god. It's one of those things that I totally get what you're saying, and I feel like it's because this movie is so committed to like several thematic ideas that they're like, we need to like bolster dreams so that Batman is doing it. We need Clark to go have a fake dream to go talk to his dad. So, you know, we need like, so like, I get it when it all comes together. It's like when I tell people about Hamilton, where I'm like, these things on their own are really like not telling you the full story.
Yeah.
It's like so hard to just look at like one scene of this movie and be like, okay, separate from everything, what do we think? It's bad. I'm like, okay, yeah, like, yeah, maybe it is, but that's not the full story.
You know what I would have done though about the dreams is because I have another Batman movie.
Right.
Is I would have had him having the dreams in the Batman movie, and then in this movie, I would have had him have some more dreams, and at the end, I would have had it be, Lex Luthor was drugging him to have these dreams that would put him against Superman. I think, you watch the movie and by the end you're like, oh, Lex was controlling things.
Yeah.
I think audiences would appreciate it more if they could go more, aha.
Yeah.
I don't think the aha moment is big enough.
No,
I want it to be a little bit bigger.
That's what I was saying with the Lex confrontation with Superman. I think the audience needed a little bit of it was me the whole time. I did this, and this. And it's true. When it happens, it like really is quiet. And even the characters themselves, like when Batman figures out that Lex was behind all this stuff, it's literally just him like looking at the checks and going, oh, no.
Yeah.
And then, he like,
I mean, at that point, it's like, you kind of like, does Batman know who Lex Luthor is?
Yeah, no, it's literally like so strange. It's like, oh, something is going on.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's a little too subtle for the masses.
And that's the thing.
And for me at times.
And I think they didn't want you to figure it out before, like literally before Superman and the rooftop scene. So, and I think the movie literally is like, and the characters can't figure it out then either, or else they won't fight each other.
Right. No, that's true.
So even after Batman gets the checks, he's just like, all right, I mean, like, I said that he figured it out. He actually doesn't.
Right. No, he sees the checks and he's like, something is wrong. I don't know why though, and I'm not going to pursue it. You know, I think it would have worked better. You can have the mystery where, no one can figure it out, not the characters or the audience.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a mystery, which we see here, which is like, it's all there, but no one's going to figure it out until the end. I think what the best version is, there's a mystery. The characters try to figure it out. They think they figured it out. They're wrong. The clues were always present for them to be right. They just misinterpreted them. And the clues are there in this movie, but they're not as emphasized. No, they're not really chasing them except for Lois. Lois is the only character chasing them.
That's what just occurred to me. It should have been Lois. It should have been at some point in this movie, like maybe afterwards, Lois literally writing an explainer for everything. It was Lex is in jail. Here is why he was responsible. He did this and this and this, and it would help. Like, I think public perception of Superman and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but,
because we get an explainer for why Batman cares about Martha. Because when he's like about to stab him, we get another flashback as to Martha. Yeah. We can get explainers for other things. It's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, I agree. I also think the Lois is almost there. Lois is like at the courthouse being like, somebody has to tell Clark about like the lead in the in the weird like it was he couldn't have seen it.
True.
Because Clark has like, I love that they actually like let Clark have some guilt about that moment where he's like,
I wasn't looking.
Yeah. I like, man, dude, that would weigh. That would so
that hits hard.
Man. So anyway, so Superman gets killed by Doomsday. He goes in for the kill. There's that sick moment where he like pulls himself closer and is like, oh yeah, stab me more.
I'm gonna finish the job.
Oh god, it's so good.
Yeah.
Then we get a really, really, really long funeral scene. 2 funerals happening at the same
Yeah,
time.
Superman and Clark's.
Really long.
Yeah.
We have bagpipes for some reason. Yeah, and there's like that little line where it's like, oh yeah, they're honoring him as like a war hero because they don't know how else to do it, and I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
that's fine. But there's something about this movie that for some reason it hits me every time. That funeral scene, dear God, it just stops. It's it's too slow. Like watching like the cannon and then the little shell come out in like slow motion. Like I get it, but wouldn't the same emotion be served with just like one emotional scene from Lois, which we get, and like one on the like I honestly think that that if you're looking for his monument, then Look Around You does the job.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
This is
so
true.
yeah.
I think that the funeral scene's like 19 minutes long.
What is it? Oh my god! What is wrong with that? Man, it's so weird.
It's too long.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's treating it like it's Iron Man's funeral scene, and we've had 20 movies for it. We've only had 2. It's too much, you know. I get it, but it's too much.
And it's not even, and I don't even mind anytime people are talking. It's literally just like the montage is like, it's brutal. But then I like some of the choices that are made afterwards. I like that the priest basically winks at the audience to say that Superman will come back. That like little speech he gives. So like, oh yeah, from the earth you'll come, and not coincidentally, it's talking about somebody coming from like below and coming back up. I like that. I think, dude, Martha giving Lois that ring, if that was a real life situation, would you give her the ring? Because I don't know if I would.
Nah, I probably wouldn't.
That's a trauma ring.
I'm probably keeping that for me.
That's
only way you're getting the ring is if you have a kid.
Yeah, dude.
If you have a kid, it's different, but you guys don't have any kids, so you're not getting shit from me.
Listen, I know you're sad because your boyfriend died. Well, I mean, he was gonna be your husband. Does that make you feel better? No, dude, no.
Yeah, no. I mean, if I give you the ring, it's like I might never see you again.
Oh God.
But if you have a kid, it's like, all right, I'm probably gonna see you like once every couple months at least, if not every couple weeks.
Yeah, so we're just trying to give Lois as much emotional baggage as we can at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, but then we're basically at the end there. So we get a little conversation between Batman and Wonder Woman, which I really enjoy because I think it actually does kind of put a bow on a lot of the themes of the movie.
Yeah.
And about being good and staying good and that kind of thing. Leads into finding the others, makes sense why to the characters and the audience, and we get a little tease of Superman coming back to life with a little very, very fast, the little rocks moving above it, which I love.
The earth moving just like it rotates around his fist when he's about to fly. No,
so good.
That is dope. I do like that. Like that.
And then that's it. Then we're done. We're out.
Yeah, man.
Woo.
Did this conversation go better or worse than you thought it was gonna go?
Okay. I feel like I got to put my heart out there. I hope, if anything, listen. I don't need you to love this movie. I don't need anybody to love this movie because the way I feel about this movie is that it's not made for everyone. I think this movie is made for people like me. Because
you did call yourself a psycho on Twitter.
No, I literally had the weirdest experience watching this movie where I understand why other people don't like it. This is I am somebody that is so attached to these characters that I want to rewatch these movies over and over again. And when a movie doesn't give me enough to, I had a theater professor that told me great art holds up to multiple viewings. And sometimes after you kind of like know the spoilers of a movie, it
works even better.
And yeah. And I think sometimes other movies don't have enough going on beneath the surface. So when you watch them once, you know what happens. And watching them again, it starts to lose some of the magic. Like a recent movie for me that did this was like the new Blade Runner movie. I really liked watching the first time.
But after that, it's like, why?
Oh, it just totally fell apart. Yeah. But so this is one of those movies that like, I love spending time with these characters. And every time I watch it, there's so much baked underneath And
I like
that's
that.
so that's why I really like it. I
To echo
Yeah.
your theater metaphor,
Yeah.
when I used to run the soundboard,
Mhm.
they always said, start the levels up super high and bring it low. Better for us to be hearing too much than be hearing nothing at all.
Yeah.
So
Cool. So, okay. So I hope everybody out there, if you're walking
what do
away
we
with
get?
anything, yeah,
I'm not rating this movie as high as Man of Steel, Jake. I'm sorry.
listen, that's
It's
fine.
not getting a 9. It's
That's
not
fine.
getting a 9.
It's fine. Listen,
It's also not getting a 4. So we've got a solid range. It's
Just
getting
so-
above a 4 and below a
Okay.
9.
just so the friends and fans know, in the book of Jake, this is a 10, baby. So, but
I'm also giving it above a 5.
okay. Here's my question for you.
Mm,
When compared to Wonder Woman 84,
mm.
how do you feel about this movie?
It's pretty comparable, honestly. It's around the same level. Maybe a little bit better. Maybe a little bit better.
I
think we gave Wonder Woman 84 a 7.5.
I agree, and I think so I think if we were ever to review the first Wonder Woman movie, I think I would put that higher than 84.
Yeah.
And I think I would probably also put it higher than this movie.
I would too. I'd probably give the first Wonder Woman like an 8 or 8.5.
Yeah, and that's separate from my own personal psychosis, of course. But but yeah, I feel like that first Wonder Woman movie is really, really good. So to me, thinking in line with how we've been talking about things, I feel like we're in between Wonder Woman 1, which we haven't like officially rated, and Wonder Woman 84.
True.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So I guess that would give it maybe like an 8, Yeah.
Can you give it a 7.7?
7.7. Dude, I love swimming in 7s.
Oh man, I think this movie's a 7.75.
Okay, can I fight you for a 7.77?
I would give it that. A 7.77.
I'm happy. I can go home happy. I can sleep tonight. My future children.
Fans, that's way higher than I ever thought I would give this movie when we first began this podcast. I thought I was giving this movie a smooth 5.5. But I'm comfortable with a 7.7.
Okay.
7.
I don't want you to give up on your convictions though, because
no. Having rewatched it and now having spoken about things for like 10 weeks or however long we've been doing this, there are things about this movie that just work.
Yeah. Okay.
My main issue, I mean, like I just can't give it an 8 because, in my own opinion, I feel like I figured out ways that the movie could have worked way better.
Okay.
And that's what keeps it from being an 8. I feel like I figured out solutions where if I was in the writer's room, I would have done this and it would have worked better.
I think that's extremely fair.
But I'm still, if I give a movie above a 5.5, I probably recommend you to watch it.
Okay.
Because I liked it in some way, shape, or form. If I give it below a 5.5 or below, it's like, anything with a 5 in it, it's like, I didn't like it, but maybe you should watch it. Anything below a 5 is like, no, if you ever tell me you like this, I'm going to tell you that this was trash.
I love this. I love this explainer for the friends and fans. So, and I think another interesting thing for this movie is that we are, in my brain, this was the first time I watched this movie telling myself, oh my God, this is the predecessor to the Snyder Cut. And I am so curious about because I got to tell you, watching it in that context, it actually kind of let like the Flash scene. I got to let that kind of
makes a lot more sense.
I got to let it live on its own a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that was interesting for me. So I just want everybody to know I've transcended a new level of hype for the Snyder Cut because now I've rewatched these two, clear Snyder Vision movies and I've been like, okay, I really enjoy these.
I think the Snyder Cut is going to be good. It's 4 hours long. If it's not good, gosh, Zach, you let me down, bro. You gotta do it for me, man. You gotta give me something, man.
And I guess we'll talk about it next week when we talk about Justice League. But yeah, I mean, I can't get into it now. Okay.
I mean, the only thing I'll say about Justice League is that I have a friend from high school. His name is John. Shout out to John McLaughlin. He was like, most people hate Batman versus Superman, but he was like, yeah, Man of Steel was okay. Batman vs. Superman was bad, but, I could watch it. He was like, Justice League is one of the worst films I've ever seen. I was like, that is deeply surprising, because I think Justice League is a little bit better than this movie.
So, I don't think I like anything more than this movie, but again, I'm a psycho. But my thing about Justice League is that the like vibe of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman are so similar that I'm wondering, am I going to turn on Justice League after having watched these so recently and be a little
off?
Yeah.
Actually, as I was just saying it, I'm like, I might end up giving my prediction, and I might be wrong because we haven't recorded the episode. My prediction is that Justice League gets a 6.
Yeah, I could see that. There are things that looking ahead, I'm kind of like feeling bad about already. Yeah. So
yeah, gosh, especially in the light of piece of shit Joss Whedon. So
yeah, for real. We don't know him anything. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's going to do
so-
it for the episode. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. This is a one-of-a-kind piece of internet media that you have just listened to us do.
Dude, did we hit 2 hours?
Let's see. We're like 5 minutes out. So
Oh gosh.
so I think what's special about this is I don't know if there is a bigger defender of this movie on the planet than me. So congratulations for making it
People
through.
have been telling me from the beginning of this podcast, gosh, I don't know if I can trust Jake's takes because he likes this movie.
I understand. This is where people stop being my friend. This is I totally get it. I hope to redeem their trust in the future. This is and again I just want to reiterate that this is something that I'm like taking off my critical Jake like how to sell a movie hat, and I'm putting on my this was a movie not made for mainstream audiences that somehow got an amazingly large budget. And now I just get to suck at it like a vampire. And oh man, it's fantastic. So
Gosh.
So thank you everybody again,
folks.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, shout out to y'all. Either the next episode or the one after that. No, I'm not going to take the Snyder Cut away from you. Sometime within the next 4 episodes, I'm going to be the intro guy.
Yes.
I'm going to take the pressure off him.
I've been thinking about it.
I thought about doing it for this episode, but he loves this movie too much.
I do. I was so excited. Okay. Thank you everybody again. Will, anything you want to say to the audience before we let them go?
Hey, sending love to all and hugs to all my lightning bugs.
We will see you next time for Justice League.
I hated this movie.